The trial of a Lagos lawyer and human rights activist Ebun Olu Adeburuwa continued on Wednesday at the Federal High Court, Lagos.
The second prosecution witness, Teslimi Adekunle, a compliance officer at Zenith Bank PLC, testified while being examined by the prosecution counsel, I.A. Mohammed, that the defendant's account was credited with about 61 million naira on August the 13th, 2013 through NEFT, that's the Nigerian Electronic Fund Transfer, by Transocean Support Vendor SA.
But in cross-examination by lead defense counsel Tayo Oyetibo SAN, the witness stated that he does not know the purpose for which the money was paid.
Ebun Olu Adeburuwa is standing trial on a one-count charge of allegedly dealing in property forfeited to the federal government through an interim order of court. The case was adjourned to September the 23rd, 28th and 29th. Of course, that's 2016. Okay, so the judiciary is the third tier of government, and we're looking at corruption in the judiciary. It's almost symbolic that Justice Nikki Toby dies around the time we're, even looking at this very seriously. One of the people who have made the judiciary look good in Nigeria.
Indeed. Well, we still have very wonderful people here with us who can make a difference. And of course, one of them is our guest today, talking about Mr. Femi Falana. Many thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast this morning, sir, if you can hear us now. Corruption in the judiciary. Indeed, it's very much with us, isn't it?
Well, of course, just like you also can talk of corruption in the media or some other areas of life, So there's nothing really peculiar with respect to allegations of corruption in the judiciary. We have damn good judges, while we have a few bad eggs, which is the situation in all professions in the country.
Okay, now talking about corruption in the judiciary, have we over the years actually underrated the extent of rot in the judiciary? And, looking at the Ebun Olu Adeburuwa issue and, of course, Ricky Tafa, which happened recently and all of that, how bad is corruption in the judiciary?
With respect, I really cannot comment on cases that are pending in court.
Okay.
Because you have mentioned two lawyers now who have been charged to court. They are not judges, so it will not be fair to mention the name of judges when you are talking of the judiciary. The judiciary is the third arm of government. Of the three arms, the judiciary is the only one that has a all the person is required to do is to file a petition before the National Judicial Council. And I can assure you, if it is not an outrightly frivolous petition, that body will look at it. And if the judge is found wanting, it will be shown the way out. Neither the executive nor the legislature has such mechanism for dealing with corruption.
Okay, all right. There's this notion when you talk about corruption in the judiciary, people probably just think, okay, the judges and the lawyers. What about even the court clerk and the police, the law enforcement agent? They're also part of the system. Are they? Can you absorb them of this allegation?
No, for sure. But what is important for us as Nigerians, we should refrain. We should stop making general allegations against the judiciary, against judges. If anybody has any allegation that a court clerk has taken money or a policeman attached to a judge has misconducted himself or herself, the best thing is to set the engine in motion for the discipline of such a person. What I'm trying to say is that there are mechanisms for dealing with corruption in the judiciary, and so most people do not take advantage of the provisions of the law. or the provisions of the guidelines, for judges, the code of conduct for judges, people just go out to level allegations which most of the times are not substantiated. But as I did say, if there are allegations, concrete allegations against corruption in the judiciary, there are ways of dealing with them. And that is done from time to time in this country. We've lost more judges between 1999 and now than, any other area of our development in terms of, we haven't lost many ministers or legislators on account of allegations of corruption. But where there have been allegations of misconduct against judges, they have been fired, they have been dealt with.
Okay, now
some have been
let's
dismissed,
look.
some have been retired.
Indeed, you did say something about the inbuilt mechanism, to actually check the activities of whether it's the bench or even the bar, which many conclude, they say there's a collusion between the bench and the bar. And that's another matter. But how effective is this mechanism?
To be honest with you, it is a very effective mechanism once you can prove your allegations. But what the NJC or the Nigerian Bar Association will not, succumb to is sheer blackmail or allegations that are frivolous or which cannot be proved. If you have allegations that a lawyer has betrayed his client, misconducted himself or herself, or stolen the money of his client, the Nigerian Bar Association will not let it go. It's going to set up an inquiry to investigate, and if the lawyer is found wanting, he will be shown the way out. I mean, we have had senior advocates who have been suspended or even have their name struck off the roll of, legal practitioners in Nigeria. Ditto for judges, So it is not fair for our people, for Nigerians, to simply allege corruption against judges or lawyers if you cannot prove them.
All right, Mr. Falana, just hold on for us.
The mechanism is extremely effective.
Okay.
Very effective.
Okay, just hold on there. Hold on your thoughts as we bring further perspectives for viewers, Nigerians, of course, everywhere to, understand this even further. Now, the judiciary is the third tier of government, often regarded as the last hope of the common man. But recent events seem to suggest that corruption is eating deep into the fabric of the bar and the bench.
I give you credence to this assertion. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Mahmoud Mohammed, in 2015 said 64 of the 1,020 court judges were sanctioned in 5 years for corruption.
And the National Judicial Council is one of the federal executive bodies created by virtue of Section 153 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It was created and vested with enormous powers and functions to check the activities of the judiciary.
It was also set up to ensure the independence of the judiciary. Some of the offenses and allegations against legal officers include bribery, absenteeism, delaying justice delivery, needless objections, frivolous petitions, among others.
Okay, so let's take a look at how the NJC is, reported misconduct by judges and lawyers. But before we go into all of that, let's even bring this question in. Mahmoud Mohammed, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, says 64 out of about 1,000 or so judges were actually, punished for some misconduct or the other. 64.
Which brings back the question of the effectiveness of the mechanism Mr. Falana was talking about.
Indeed. And then again, how confident really is the ordinary Nigerian who feels that his, rights have been, trampled upon to actually take advantage of this mechanism that you say, actually effective?
Well, as I did say, all that is required on the part of anybody who has evidence of corruption or abuse of office is to file a petition before the NJC. If it's a lawyer that is involved, you are required to send your petition to the disciplinary committee of the Nigerian Bar Association. And in both cases, the matter will be investigated. And if anybody is found wanting, such a person will be disciplined. And that is why the CJ can confidently say, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the Honorable Justice Mahmood, can say that about 54 judges have been sanctioned in the last 17 years or thereabout. You can't say that. You can count the number of ministers who has been fired, even for corruption, on your fingertips. In the case of legislators, a few have been disciplined, but they have always been pardoned by their colleagues, So it's the judiciary that can be given some kind of pass mark with respect to discipline of its members. But that is not to say that we do not have bad judges or corrupt judges, but whenever they are exposed, they are dealt with by the system.
Okay, just for the purpose of clarification, can you please enlighten us where allegations are brought forward in areas of delay in justice delivery, needless objections, frivolous petitions, among others, which many have called inbuilt mechanism in the law that circumvent the arms of justice? How would you get to those evidence and prosecute lawyers? Or just for clarification, please.
No, there is no doubt that you have some defense counsel, some senior lawyers who have taken advantage of technicalities and loopholes in the criminal justice system to expose the judicial system to ridicule by engaging in unwarranted adjournments and other dilatory tactics, which have really embarrassed the justice system. But at the federal level, we now have the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. In Lagos State, we have the Administration of Criminal Justice Law that have really have checkmated, have addressed delay in the administration of criminal justice. For instance, if you are charged before a federal court or before the Lagos High Court, you no longer can file an interlocutory appeal and then ask for stay of proceedings, in which case you can keep a criminal case in the docket for the next 10 or 15 years. That has become a thing of the past. But that is only, that law applies in federal courts as well as the Lagos High Court. We are asking other states to copy or adopt the Administration of Criminal Justice Act so that we can fast track the trial of criminal cases. And for lawyers who now deliberately delay trials, there are provisions for dealing with them. I mean, lawyers can now be sanctioned by having fees, costs, colossal costs paid by them, And if lawyers also fail to file their processes, you are made to pay per day, some penalty. And so the judiciary itself is addressing this problem, but we're also challenging the houses of assembly in all the states, apart from Lagos, to wake up and also update or modernize the criminal justice system. For instance, over 400 cases, corruption cases, which have been filed by the ICPC, are pending in state high courts all over the country. They are being delayed. Whereas in the case of federal courts, the EFCC has just announced that it has been able to conclude about 148 cases in the last 6 months. I think if this can be a national, phenomenon, these complaints will no longer be there very soon. And that is why we need to all move. The state houses of assembly, the governors, all hands should be on deck, to really improve on the justice system in the interest of the society, so that our country will not be branded, a corrupt one, where lawyers and judges are accused repeatedly of delaying,
justice
trials in the courts.
All right, Mr. Falano, before we even take a look at a few cases, where do you stand, with the what some people have complained about, the welfare of the judiciary? As some have actually said that the judiciary is the least funded of the three arms of government, and their conditions of service actually do not allow for them to actually be above board like Caesar's wife. Are we expecting too much of the judiciary? And if we say that the judiciary is indeed corrupt, are we the ones who have actually, allowed this to happen?
What I'm saying is that it is not fair to say that the judiciary is corrupt. That is a fallacy of generalization. There are bad judges, but there are damn good judges in Nigeria. Just like you have bad eggs in all other professions. But with respect to the conditions of service of judges, they are extremely very bad. What judges are working under very, very difficult, very hostile environment. I was in a court in Calabar, very recently, and that is the State High Court. It was extremely hot that the judge had to ask lawyers, to dispense or discard, their wigs and gowns, so that we could be able to even sit in the court premises and make submissions. The judge himself has been able to buy a small generator, to power the fan in his own court. It is as bad. There are states in Nigeria where 2 or 3 judges have to share the same courtroom, by sitting, maybe 2 or 3 hours per day, so that the other colleagues can also have a bite at the sherry. It is as bad, And so judges have no books, so most of the time you cite authorities, a lawyer is required to make photocopies and drop them in the court. So you have many of our judges who have photocopies of law reports, that make up their library, and up to now, our judges write longhand. They take evidence, manually. The records are not properly kept because the judiciary is not funded. Whereas the Constitution provides that the judiciary shall be self-independent, shall be autonomous, But no government in Nigeria, apart from the federal government, has recognized, financial autonomy of the judiciary, So the conditions are extremely bad. So our judges are working under very hostile environment, and so they are putting in their best.
Okay.
But we are saying for the society that the best is not enough, they can do much more. Again, to encourage our judges, we must isolate and identify the few bad, corrupt judges and write petitions against them instead of simply lambasting or lampooning all judges, in the country.
Okay, Mr. Falana, we do have more questions for you. Some few cases here. Ricky Tafa, a senior Nigerian lawyer, was accused of improper communication with judges, manipulations, bribery, obstruction of justice, and attempting to pervert the cause of justice.
At least 90 fellow lawyers who, like him, senior advocates of Nigeria, turned up to defend him.
Now, the National Judicial Council, the NJC, chaired by Honorable Justice Mahmoud Mohammed, came down with a heavy disciplinary gavel on Justice Rita Ofili-Ajimogobia of the Federal High Court. She was accused of alleged misconduct and injustice for failing to deliver judgment in a pre-election suit between Victoria A.A. Ayeni and Olushola Shonuga and 2 others, knowing fully well there was a deadline.
She will not be considered for any elevation to the Court of Appeal or any ad hoc judicial appointment until she retires from the bench.
Now, the NJC in February 2013 recommended the compulsory retirement of Justice Thomas Naron, then of the High Court of Justice, Plateau State, following its findings that there were constant and regular voice calls and exchange of text messages between the judge and one of the lead counsels for one of the parties to the suit in the Osun State Gubernatorial Election Tribunal, contrary to the Code of Conduct for Judicial Officers in Section 292, subsection 1B of the 1999 Constitution.
Also in February 2013, the NJC recommended the compulsory retirement of Justice Charles Achibong, who was then serving at the Federal High Court, Lagos, following investigations conducted by the council on series of petitions leveled against him. Some of the allegations were that he dismissed a grievous charge against an accused without taking his plea and refused to release the certified true copy of his ruling to lawyers.
Okay, Mr. Falana, of course, you have heard about this, some of these cases, yeah. But you have, of course, established the fact that you don't want to comment on any of the specific cases, especially considering the fact that they're still before the court and you don't want to be sub judice. Now, even the Supreme Court has not been left out of this corruption stain. What are the implications of this really going forward if the average Nigerian on the street begins to doubt the integrity of those who sit in the Supreme Court?
Now, all the cases you have just referred to now simply confirm that our system is working. In other words, if 54 judges in the last 16 or 17 years have been disciplined or sanctioned, that simply means that the intervention of the National Judicial Council is effective and efficacious. You can't say that of the other arms of government or most other professions in the country. What the average Nigerian on the street, according to you, must be made to appreciate, must be made to realize is that the media must help to educate all Nigerians to know that if they have allegations of judicial misconduct or professional misconduct on the part of any judge or lawyer, the system is there to deal with it and ensure that there is sanity in the system. That is the point I'm trying to make. I'm not making a case for corrupt judges or bad lawyers. I'm simply saying that Nigerians must have the courage, Nigerians must be prepared, instead of spreading unsubstantiated allegations, they should be prepared to follow them up and write petitions to the appropriate authorities.
Okay. Many thanks for coming on TVC Breakfast this morning, Mr. Femi Falana, talking about corruption in the judiciary. According to him, these are allegations, and the media should help educate the Nigerian populace. These allegations can be anywhere, could be in the media, could